Yep, I'm doing YouTube again. I'm making this video, and who knows when the next one will be out. Oh, huh. That's a lot of hair. I've been gone for a while, haven't I? Well, I'm going back. I'm going back. I can't handle this. It's too much. Let's release schedule episode, making YouTube channel shorts and all that, and all editing. You're right. One video won't hurt. Alright, so we are back with our favorite series, the third episode of the random build series in Minecraft. However, I need a haircut. Like with the other two videos, we're going to be spinning a wheel to see what theme we will be using. And my theme for this build is fantasy. And the build that I'm going to have to be, building is a portal. After finding a location for the build to go, I started smoothing out the terrain and building up the main portal frame. Using stone bricks and stone to cover the frame, I started adding some details and texture to the build. I created these rims near the top of the portal and started adding amethyst. However, I felt the portal should be higher, so I started extending it upwards. I started adding some detail around the amethyst to incorporate it into the build a little bit better. And of course I had to connect the portal to the mountain that was behind it using a mixture of stone and stone bricks. Now it started raining, so I had to do the thing that every single Minecraft YouTuber does, and I made it not rain. Now, of course, a giant stone monolith of a portal would be kind of boring, so I started adding some vines using azalea leaves. I needed to add some interest to the top of the build, so I started building this tree out of spruce wood. But as you can see, the blocks were giving me a little bit of a difficult time while I was trying to build the branches. I made sure to add a ton of leaves to the top of the tree. I made sure to take a step back and see how the tree looked, and I found out that I needed to add a little bit more leaves. When the portal was lit, however, there was a small amount of the obsidian visible on the edge. So I went in and expanded the obsidian, so now the edge is no longer visible. However, I made sure to cut the corners just like any Minecraft player would when building a portal. And a piglin came through, so of course we had to give him a name. Ronald? Back to the build, I started blending in the stone steps with the grass below. I added some slabs in the middle of the steps to make it look like it's been worn down over time. I also added some cracked stone bricks around the tree roots and some mossy stone bricks around the vines. I couldn't just leave the area around the build undecorated, so I dug out a small pond and had to put some pickles inside. In each of the builds there is a hidden pickle, excluding the ones in the pond, so let me know if you can find those. Trees add a lot to outdoor builds, so I added a few. Also added these cattails around the pond and some sugarcane, except the sugarcane seemed to not need water. But with that, the build is complete. For the second build, I spun and got the Desert Wasteland theme. And for the build, I kept on getting Portal, but we had already done a Portal, so I kept spinning until I got a new one, which turned out to be a garden. So we're going to be building a garden in the desert. I made a command block that would teleport me between the spawn and the desert. I then found a spot and began smoothing out the terrain. I began planning out a main structure and then digging out a small pond for the oasis. I added some greenery and some mud at the bottom and then filled it with water and started making trees. The first tree I made didn't look that great, so I started making another one. I based it off of some reference photos I had found for palm trees. I then made a small stream of water leading from the oasis down to where the garden will be. I started on the main structure using a variety of gray stone blocks, building up towards the top where it would become almost white. I wanted to make a few edits to the gradient, but I forgot that concrete powder fell, so I had to use the tick freeze command and then put cobblestone underneath. If you had a farm in the middle of a desert wasteland, it would make sense to have some sort of protection. So I began making a log wall, putting dripstone on top to make it look like the logs have been sharpened to keep out intruders. Just like the piglin from the first build, I spotted an armadillo walking around and decided to give him a name. I called him Clark. Since there was a log fence around the property, it would make sense to have some sort of gate to get in and out, so I began building one up. I wanted it to look like it was made out of trash and junk that people had found and put up. The structure in the middle needed some attention, so I decided to start working on the details and making a doorway. I thought a orange and brown roof would look really nice with the green copper and also the orange copper. I made the inside look like a storage facility where seeds and produce could be stored, and I decorated the inside with lanterns and copper bulbs. The main roof came next, and I used the same colors as the smaller roof. To make the outside look less plain, I added in some graffiti and some spray cans using candles. It would make sense to have an area where logs can be sharpened to be put up on the fence, so that's what I made. And then I added some TNT for the fence, using red candles to look like dynamite sticks. After building up the chimney and a few final details, the build is complete. You guys know the drill by now. We're going to be building a winter-themed ice cream shop. Once I found a spot in a wintry biome, I began building up the platform for the main building to sit on. I made sure to detail it as I went. To round out a trio of named creatures, I found a bunny and named it Beatrice. I'm not sure why, but the name just popped into my mind. I started making the main frame of the front of the building. The shape I was going for was a little bit tricky to pull off, but I managed to get there in the end. I used a lot of different spruce woods to make it look very wintry, brown, and like sort of a log cabin in the snow. The roof was a little tricky, so some reference images really came in handy with determining what the shape would be. Put a lot of windows on the inside to make it feel very open and inviting. And I continued the slant from the roof into the secondary part of the building. Since it is an ice cream shop, I put a giant pink ice cream cone on top of the building. Since it was in the snow, I had to put some snow on top of the building, but I used pale wood and quartz. Some creatures had decided to make the underside of this build their house, so I quickly turned it to peaceful mode. I started making the fence around the building. It was now time to start working on the inside of the building, so I built a main desk and placed some command blocks which would give me player heads that looked like ice cream cones. I added a sign using some banners, and then decorated the other half of the building using some pink and white banners on the front. I made a vanilla and chocolate ice cream dispensing machine, and then also used a cauldron and armor stand trick to make it look like there was bowls of ice cream you could scoop from. I added many final touches after adding some tables, and finally the build was complete. With the third and final build done, it was time to look back on all three. Thank you all so much for watching. This video was a lot of fun to make. It was a lot of effort, so if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like or subscribe. Either or very appreciated. If you have an idea for a theme or a build I can add to the spinner if I ever do Random Builds Part 4, please let me know in the comments. I've been the Crafty Sea Pickle and you've been amazing, so have yourselves a wonderful day.